there? Big game or something?
Something.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm sure you have heard of the national honor for Joseph Tugler. How much work has gone into
What was it?
the Lefty Driesell National Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, I did hear that.
What kind of work has gone into that for him? What kind of honor is that for him as a player?
Well, he's not playing by himself. I mean, he's part of a team defense. I mean, we have the #1 rated, statistically rated defense in the country. And probably the most important part of our defense is our coverage calls. Obviously he had no idea what that stuff was before he got here. But JoJo's a great student. He's a great listener, and one of the keys of coaching is learning how to coach each individual, because they all don't learn the same way, nor do they comprehend things the same way. But JoJo is a quick learner. Our coverage calls and how we defend pick and rolls, we're blessed that we have two guys that are high level, and JoJo and Javier. JoJo's ability to recover from one action and then block a shot at the rim on another action. I'm still amazed. I don't know if you guys remember certain plays during the year, because I don't know how much you guys watch individual stuff, but we're playing Kansas State in Manhattan, and we had a breakdown, and Joe came up to help, and the Kansas State kid, I don't remember who it was, made a pass to the basket. Gassan, I think that was his name, their center, gets the ball and got a clear dunk. I'm not even sure JoJo was even in the picture yet. But the next thing you know, JoJo's at the rim knocking it out. And I'm sitting there going, how many people in the world can do that? I mean, he does things, but I watch him do that stuff in practice. Never takes a possession off. Just a joy to coach, hard worker, tough. Guys aren't good because they have long wingspans. There's a ton of guys that's got longer wingspans than Joe don't even get to play. It's not your statistics or your measurements that make you good. Oh, of course he's good. He's got a 7'6" wingspan. That has nothing to do with how it starts. It's his heart and his brain and his toughness and how he competes. Now his wingspan can help him.
Kelvin,
with your family on staff, your players, your former players, how much is family a theme for this program?
Well, I think it's why everything around here stays as is. It's not to say we're not going to have kids transfer. Of course you are in this day and age. Guys are going to transfer now more than ever for a lot of reasons, some good and some bad. Of course, I've learned never to overreact to any of that stuff. But as far as family, when I got here in 2014, the first person I hired was Kellen, 14-15. Then the next season, I hired Lauren. Hollis and Quanis was my starting backcourt at Oklahoma. Recruited Hollis when he was 16 years old, and he's still with me. I guess he's like my son. Quanis, I've known Quanis since 1997 or 98. We're thrilled about his new opportunity. Casey and I go way back to our coaching the Canadian senior national team. Matt was a manager. Daniel Hickson, who's now with the Spurs, was a manager. Bilal Batley was a manager. I just like to keep things in house. I have I have a lot of confidence in how we do things, and how we do them is the way we do them. It's not up for negotiation or discussion. Either like it or you don't, and we don't really care either way. But just how we do it. But our family is what binds us together. The person that probably doesn't get enough credit is my wife Karen. She's been my head coach for 45 years, and she knows how to coach me. She's good at it. If you don't believe me, ask her.
Kelvin, how will the maturity and focus of this particular group help in this kind of setting?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with everything we do. How we do anything is how we do everything. From the first day we got into the Big 12, our goal was to win the next game. Didn't matter to me who it was, but that's just the way we operate here. Unless you're inside here, you may get surprised, but we don't. Who's our next game? Our next game, our first Big 12 game was West Virginia at home. We played the way we play. The outcome was the outcome. As the season wore on, we just did what we do. We don't say, well, this game's more important than the other. I noticed other people do, but we don't, because I don't. Every game to me is a game you can lose, so that's the most important game. Playing, when the season ended, I think our record was 27-4. And then we go play 3 games in the Big 12 tournament. The outcome of those games was what I thought they would be. We didn't play a game in the tournament I didn't think we could win. I thought we would win those games. Then we got into the NCAA tournament. We played SIU-E. I thought if we played well, we could win that one. Then we played Gonzaga. Same thing. I thought if we played well, we could win it. And then now we go to, where did we just come from? Indianapolis. We played Purdue. Same thing. I thought if we played well, we could win it. And then we played Tennessee. Same thing. We don't put high importance, low importance, medium importance. They're all important. SIU-E scouting report was no different than Tennessee's. But that's how we operate inside our cocoon here. And then, so everything kind of stays as is. I've developed a system. When I first got all the assistants here, I had to teach them this is how we want to do things. But that's the value of having smart assistants that's loyal. They care about our kids' individual development and their individual success. They care about the success of the program. And so our next game is Saturday night against Duke. We're going to do the best we can to prepare for that game, and we're looking to play well in that one too.
Kelvin, I wondered, could you talk about what LJ Pryor has meant to your team and the unique opportunity he has to win a national championship with his second school?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but I can tell you about LJ. I think the maturity level of our team has a lot to do with him because his maturity. LJ has a very old soul. There's nothing 21 or 22 years old about him. He's a grown man. He comes in every day, does his work. Probably the most important meeting that I've had, I'm constantly meeting with our kids individually. Make sure they understand their roles and what I think they can do better to help our team more in their role. But when we got back from Las Vegas in early December, I had to find a way to get LJ out of his comfort zone. You can't. If we're on a bus, LJ, you can't sit in the back with the players. You got to sit up there with the coaches. I mean that figuratively, not literally. I don't want him up there to me. John Houston sits in that seat, and I sit in that seat. No, that's it. But he had to assume some leadership. And leadership means different things to different people. There are certain words in basketball that gets, or any kind of sport, team sport. You throw things around, you really don't understand exactly what it is. But we had a 12-point lead against San Diego State. We had a 6-point lead against Alabama, and we had a 9-point lead against Auburn. We were in a position to win all those games. Now, we weren't ready to win them. One of the things that hurt us back then was Milos' nose surgery. When he broke his nose, he missed 21 days of practice. Javier missed 21 days of practice, and we've been blessed so far with that. But we started off a little rocky with the injury thing. So I got that. And I wasn't worried about that. But I was worried about going forward. Losing the 3 games, that didn't matter to me. You know, I'll let other people overreact to stuff that's really not that important at that time of the year. But going forward, though, I wasn't going to undersell the need that we needed a leader. You know, I thought the guy that I was most disappointed probably in Vegas was J1 for a lot of reasons, and I told him. But the guy that I thought could step up and do more was L. Number one, he had everybody's respect. Everybody respects LJ. He doesn't take practices off. Once he had to learn how to handle our stuff here. But once he figured that out, you can tell basketball is important to him. But you know, the importance of basketball is not the same to every kid. Don't think this kid loves it like this kid. They don't. That's why you see some kids have short careers, because they're looking to get out. They're tired of it. You know, they went to college, they got a scholarship. You know, I'm on to something else. That's fine. But you know, LJ will try to play as long as he can when he leaves here, because he loves basketball. Basketball is very important to him. But he had to learn to impact our team on the floor. You can't be an innocent bystander. You can't turn around and just look at JoJo. You got to say something to him. And he had to work at that. So starting with the Butler game, that was our first game back from that tournament. You could tell he was trying his way, and I couldn't tell him how to do it. You have to be who you are, you know, and don't worry about trying to be like somebody wants you to be. You're never going to be any good doing that stuff. But LJ developed into a great leader. He was. Everybody remembers Jamal. But leadership has a lot of different looks to it. You know, it's like the color of a door. Not every door is the same color, but they're all great doors. You know, LJ's leadership style this year was just as good, if not as important as the way Jamal did, or the way Marcus did, or the way Dejan did, or the way Galen did. We've had some great leaders here, and LJ's as good a leader as anybody we've had.
Kelvin, including your time coaching the Rockets, this is the longest time you spent in one city. How has your time here in Houston shaped who you are, and what have you grown to appreciate about the city of Houston?
After being at some of the other places, I love the fact you can go around the city and nobody knows who you are. I really like that. You know, you can stop over here and get gas, and a million people can ride by. It's not the way it is everywhere. So I love Houston. You know, coming over here from the Rockets, I love coaching the Rockets. And then coming over here, you know, we've it's like buying a house. Buying a house doesn't mean that's your home. Some people have to buy a house because they got to live somewhere, right? But this is home for us, and I've grown to really love and respect and appreciate this place.
Kelvin, we've asked you this before, but as you make another Final Four trip that will inevitably come up, just the early days here, Lauren was saying sometimes that she would hear no from you about going around campus and, you know, recruiting guys, students, Bullhorn. Can you kind of take what those moments were like when you were starting?
I don't think I can adequately do it, but I'll try.
Well, just, you know, maybe the first time you were in Hopkins for a game and you saw what needs to be, you know.
First time I was in Hopkins was the day second time. Chris Finch, who I worked with the Rockets, was the national team coach for Great Britain, and they were scrimmaging Russia. And I came over here and sat with Steve Wojciechowski and Chris Collins, two guys I coached in USA basketball. I just remember the chairs the row I was sitting in, the chairs were all broke. I didn't know I knew what Elvin Hayes was. I'd heard of Coach Lewis. I'd heard of Phi Slama Jama. But that was 30 years ago at that point. Maybe, yeah, somewhere around there, I guess. Just the, you know, but you got to look at the leagues I've coached in. I mean, I coached in the Big Ten. I coached in the Big 12 for 12 years. I coached in the Pac-10, Pac-12 as a head coach for 7 years. So none of those places look like this. So my first reaction was the administration doesn't care. If they did, they wouldn't fire the coaches every 3 years. You know, I don't think that speaks to the what the coaches did or didn't do. I think it speaks more to what the administration did or didn't do. And I remember having those discussions. And those were hard discussions for those people to hear. But if you're going to try to get some, what was the worst thing they're going to do to me? Fire me? That's the worst thing that's going to happen. So I'll go somewhere else. I wasn't the only school that tried to hire me. I'm pretty sure I could get a job somewhere. But if I was going to stay here, the people that need to change the most was not me, it was them. You know, that's where this thing started. So, you know, coaches and players win games, but administrations win championships. You see this place we're standing in? I had to fight them every step of the way on this thing. There was a bus stop right here. And there was dirt and an occasional bush, mostly dirt, another bush, but it just looked like a downtown urban campus that nobody took care of it. And we're trying to figure out how to get this basketball program going. I expected the fan support to be what it was, because look at the administrative support. If they don't care, why should the fans care? That's the way I looked at it, you know. But the guy that helped me the most was Mac. You know, Mac really helped. You know, he showed me some plans on what this was going to look like, and I didn't like the plans. I'm not going to tell you everything I said, but I said what. Sometimes you have to say things that need to be said, and the consequences of those words, you have to think through what you're saying, because you know you want to make sure that you're able to still work with these people. But nobody cared about basketball here, and I had to change some attitudes.
I got all the time I got for coach. Okay, everybody. I'm Juan Robert. Coach, thank you. Right over.
All right, guys. Jeff's timing on snatching me down from here a while ago wasn't very good, so I'm going to have executive power here. I didn't like the way that ended, because all I did was tell you what it was like when we first started, and I didn't get a chance to finish. So the reason why we've been able to do what we've done here is because President Couture has been a advocate for our program. She's one of the rare presidents that cares about winning. You know, when you're my age, the last thing you worry about is pressure or being fired. I've had a lifetime contract here for a long time. You know, I'll decide when it's time to go, and I'll make that decision independent of anybody else but my wife. But the reason why we've had this success here is because, sure, I pushed, and sure, I was do it my way, and you can interpret that however you want. But I knew that if we were going to win here, we had to get these facilities right. We were in the American Athletic Conference, and if you take the middle of the conference to the bottom, we were at the bottom. We were one of the last ones. Didn't charter, didn't feed the kids, didn't do anything, didn't have a film room, couldn't take anybody on visits. And I told them that. What Tillman Fertitta, Mac Rose, and Hunter Yurchek, and President Couture, Hunter, Mac, Tillman, and President Couture, and Kelvin. Those 5 people really pushed. The toughest one was we got this built, not delaying the next phase. They thought this was phase 1. There was only one phase. No, there's 2 phases. If we didn't get that Hopkins thing done on the back end of this wasn't going to happen. This wasn't going to be, we'll do it 3 years from now. No, we got to go right now. And the reason why that worked was because of Tillman. Tillman, I sat down and talked to him about leaving a legacy here. And he came, I'm going to get back to you. When he came back, he said, I'm going to give you $20 million, and you're going to have to go raise the rest. That $20 million allowed us to get started. That allowed us to finish the design phase. And we had 3 options. And we sat down and said, this is the best option. And what you see over there was those meetings and putting that blueprint on a desk and said, how about this? How about this? What about this? So when I walked down the tunnel for those games, there was a little bit of a vested interest in that place. 10 years from now, when I come back and look, I'm gonna remember those conversations with Hunter. Mac was at Missouri at the time, but Hunter was a big reason why. I wasn't gonna do this by myself. I had to have an advocate, somebody that could carry the fight for me where it needed to be fought at, which is at the highest level, and that was President Couture. So President Couture, Tillman, Mac, and Hunter, and then when Hunter left to go to Arkansas, this was already going, but Chris came in, jumped on board, and signed off on everything, and then we played our first game in here on December 1st, 2018. That was against Oregon. So quietly, as I was walking out of the locker room, I got just a tinge emotional because I remember where this place was when we got here. And I tell everybody, if you're a fan of our program now, you won't have a really appreciation for this unless you were here in 2014 and saw where we started. And now look where we're going this weekend. Sometimes it doesn't seem possible, but that just shows you what can happen if you have a lot of people that will believe in something. So, the head coach gets most of the blame for everything, as he should. That's why they pay me all that money, right? That's cool. But the credit for this should be shared. Our Tillman and President Couture, they've been, once I got my spiel out, once I told them where it was and what needed to be done, they were on board. This does not happen without President Couture and Tillman. On my 4th AD now, 2nd women's coach, 5th football coach. I've been around here a long time. I've seen a lot of people come and go, but the constant that this athletic department has been our basketball program, and I'm proud of that. So I didn't get to finish. I didn't want you to leave with all the negativity. That's like building anything. It always starts tough, and getting people to believe in something that they can't see, but I could see it, and that was the important thing. And then I got them to buy in. So this is our 2nd trip to the Final Four. We've had a ton of success here, and I love this team. I love our mentality every day about work, because making a tournament is hard. If next year the team makes the tournament and we lose the first game, there's going to be a lot of ignorance that's floating around about what happened. That's when you know you've lost perspective, when you don't realize how hard it is to make the tournament. Look at all the teams this year that didn't make it. Look at West Virginia. Look at a bunch of teams. It's hard to make the tournament. Forget winning a game or winning 2 games or getting a Sweet 16. That's not something you say, well, we're going to do that every year. No, when you start over every year, you're just like everybody else. Everybody has the same opportunity, just like we do. So, but we know that this season is going to end either Saturday or Monday. We're going to do the best we can to take this as far as we can.